much to the chagrin of the Trudeau Liberals, who are making a major announcement, or maybe they have already based on the time, to cap Alberta's oil and gas production. Our premier, who gets more beautiful the more she fights with Justin Trudeau. I mean, every time she fights with him, it's like 5 years gets knocked off her face. Danielle Smith faced a leadership review at the United Conservative Party's AGM this weekend. And despite some backwoods dealings and nonsense, I wouldn't say dealings, it was just slimy politics at the convention. On the side of those opposed to Danielle Smith, she passed her leadership review with 91.5% support of the party. This was Canada's largest political convention ever, over 6,000 people in attendance. They had 2 overflow rooms so that everybody could participate. It took hours to vote in the leadership review. And anyway, the NDP are losing their marbles. This is a strong message sent to Justin Trudeau that we want to fight with you and we're going to rumble. And of course, Naheed Nenshi, the new NDP leader, former mayor of Calgary, who oversaw the crumbling infrastructure there, who doesn't have a seat, by the way. That's another story in and of itself. Oops. He won his leadership very recently with 86% of the vote. So this is a very strong approval for Premier Danielle Smith. And yet, the Liberals, so this is what Danielle Smith wrote. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to our members for their incredible 91.5% support. Together, we will ensure that Alberta remains a province that upholds the values that have established us as a beacon of hope, freedom, and prosperity. With your belief in our shared vision, we will work tirelessly to continue to make Alberta the greatest place to work and raise a family. I'm excited to build our province's future with you. We're on the right path. Alberta is safer, stronger, and freer today, thanks to the hard work of you and our united Conservative government. We have only just begun. And the reason I point out Nenshi here is that Danielle Smith both has the support of the party itself, the party membership writ large, but also the overwhelming support of her cabinet and caucus. There's not a single fracture there. Unlike with Jason Kenney, we saw fractures all over the place. Nenshi has the support of the party base, the party membership, but he doesn't have the support of the MLAs, who none of them are stepping aside so that he can run in the legislature.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
None of them. I mean, if he ran in Edmonton, he would be like a drop-in and he could, quite frankly, lose. The only place he could probably run credibly is in Calgary. And if you think with this Conservative Party that they wouldn't mount like the strongest, most well-organized opposition to him, he might lose in Calgary. And what an embarrassment that would be to the brand new leader of the NDP that he can't get into the legislature.
In the city in which he was mayor for so many years.
Exactly.
You know, I guess, in theory, Sheila, correct me if I'm wrong, but can you still be the leader of a party without a seat?
You can. I mean, he sits in the legislature gallery on his phone and then texts the MLAs, the opposition MLAs, his questions. It's super embarrassing. But yeah, the MLAs don't necessarily like him. Not enough for them to resign their seats. And, like all of Notley's loyalists ran against him. Now they lost. They're bitter about that. And I realize why the NDP party chose him. They think that he's got name recognition and he's somewhat well liked. But after the infrastructure fiasco in Calgary, which was really happened on his watch, I'm not sure.
Oh, he's got name recognition, all right. So do many other nefarious people. But Sheila, what is the dynamic there exactly? Sorry, about the MLAs that don't care for him.
Yeah, they don't like him. All of Notley's senior MLAs, like Sarah Hoffman, the former health minister under Notley, save your jokes, I'm trying to, and a bunch of others, they ran to replace Notley. They all thought that they were loyal soldiers, and it was their turn to run the party. And Nenshi, he got the support of the party members, but the MLAs don't necessarily like him. And so there's this big division in the party, like with this top down, like the MLAs, I enjoy it. I enjoy watching this party. Just to not least credit, the whole party seemed to like her. I didn't. Albertans didn't, but at least they were unified. Now we've got the elected MLAs who don't like Nenshi and the party brass or the party members who do.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it couldn't happen to a nicer bunch. And okay, so moving on from that, by the way, as I said off the top of the show, Rebel News really warmly received. You'll see some of our videos coming out over the week that we filmed at the UCP AGM with, for example, now back in the party, MLA for Lacombe-Panoka, Jennifer Johnson, she was kicked out. And then she's the MLA who was subject to the re-education session with the drag king queen named Carla Marks.
Oh,
and she didn't bend on that. I ran into her and she was so grateful for independent journalists accurately covering what happened to her, because she was not treated fairly at all by the mainstream media. But before, in the couple of days in the lead up to the UCP AGM, we'll get to Marcy Ian's comments, but Danielle Smith announced a whole slate of pieces of legislation that would protect fairness in women's sport, stop gender transition for children, and make substantial changes to the Public Health Act that would redefine what an emergency really is. Also mandated a right to in-person education, especially during a public health emergency, and parental notification if a child at school decides that they are going to socially transition. They have to go to the parents first. So now the Liberals are weighing in. So Marcy Ian, I just call her the DEI minister, Trudeau's DEI minister from Toronto. She's written a strongly worded letter to Premier Danielle Smith, calling on her to revoke her recent set of anti-trans bills. They're not anti-trans bills.
No.
They're pro-child bills, because you should not be giving an 11-year-old cross-sex hormones and sterilizing them for the rest of their lives. And if you think so, you're a crazy person. But let me tell you, Marcy Ian, if you're watching, there's not a single normal Albertan in this province who cares what Justin Trudeau's DEI minister from Toronto has to say about what we're doing here. If you want to trans a bunch of kids, I promise you should go door knocking on that issue. Yeah. Knock some doors and tell people how you're pro-transing a 12-year-old behind their parents' back. And just report back to us, Marcy, and see how that goes.
Yeah, I think there's a word for that. What's it called? Oh, yeah, child abuse. Maybe we should call the Children's Aid Society, Sheila.
Yeah. I mean, and then Janice Irwin, who is one of the MLAs who has allied herself with Nenshi, particularly on this, and just visually, you'll see why. She put out a video the other day, her message to trans Albertans and all Albertans, because this Lyle Lovett looking weirdo thinks that she knows better than moms and dads. It's the bigotry of low expectations to say that socially conservative parents wouldn't love their children despite their identity challenges. Look at this.
There were some 4,500 emails in my email box this week. They were not form letters. Yeah, every single one of them was a personal letter from someone deeply hurt by this legislation. I've never seen anything like it.
As you said, these aren't form letters. These are real people impacted by this legislation.
Not just from trans people, not just from people in the community or parents of people in the community, but for Albertans of every stripe.
Their teachers, their parents, their youth, people from all corners of this province.
Saying, I just don't feel safe here. I don't know if I can have a future here. For the first time in my life, I'm thinking about this place that I love so much, that I put so much into, is a place that doesn't want me here.
And it's hard, and I get it, and I don't begrudge anybody who thinks they might have to leave this province, but they need to know that they've got a whole lot of MLAs here fighting for them, and they've got a whole lot of people all across this province who are here for them as well.
Our job as the government in waiting is to show people there's a better alternative. But we want everyone, not just people in the LGBTQ2S+ community, but every Albertan to know they don't have to worry about whether their rights are next to be stripped. This government in waiting will always look after every single person's right to live a meaningful life on this land.
To any trans folks who are watching this.
That's enough of these two. Okay, so they can't out of one side of their mouth say, we're not transing the kids. We're not doing that because Danielle Smith addressed that. She said, okay, if you're not transing the kids, then you should not have a problem with this legislation. We're just making sure that it never happens. And then to say like, oh, people are considering leaving this province. Well, who's going to leave the province? People under the age of 16 who want chemical castration? Okay, I don't want to be a place that chemically castrates 15-year-olds. I just don't. And for the rest of them, you're going to leave. Why? Why? Because you don't get to punch a woman in the face in the boxing ring? Good riddance.
And
Go
Sheila,
to BC then.
I hear San Francisco is lovely this time of year. By all means.
You know, like, don't threaten me with a good time. You mean you're going to pack up and leave because you desire the right to wrestle a woman in a wrestling ring?
Yep.
Okay. All right, then. Have it your way.